From Bingham Park in Kitchener, it's the Zayres Grand Prix, the showcase event of the Golden Triangle Premier Horse Show. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeff Hutcheson, and welcome to what should be a great afternoon of show jumping. Joining us for color commentary today is the only Canadian ever to win an Equestrian World Championship. She did it when she was 26 years old and remains the youngest and only female ever to capture that crown, Gail Greenough. Gail, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We should be in for a great afternoon of show jumping, and for the casual observer at home, let's go through some of the rules and some of the things they should look for.
Well, the rules are very simple. It's 4 faults for a knockdown, 3 faults for the first refusal, 6 faults for the second, and the third refusal means elimination.
There's also some time faults if they go past 92 seconds on this course, which we'll tell you about as we go along. Now, what about this course layout here in Kitchener?
Well, the course will be very interesting today. The ground is very uneven. There's quite a slope out here today. That'll cause some problems. Sometimes the jumps will go uphill, sometimes they'll go downhill, and we'll see a lot of faults caused just because of the unevenness of the ground.
Okay, the man who designed this course is Dave Ballard, and Randy Steinman is with Mr. Ballard now.
Thanks, Jeff. Here with course designer Dave Ballard, who put this course together today. Dave, how would you describe the level of difficulty of this course you've laid out here?
I think for the 19 competitors that we have this afternoon, I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, it would probably be about a 7.5. It has a certain amount of difficulty with the heights and the width.
Mm-hmm. Now, it rained here this morning. How did that affect what you were doing out here today?
It really didn't change a great deal. The rain stopped a few hours ago. If it had rained a little longer, we might have had to make some adjustments, but I didn't make any. I think the ground will hold up just fine.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you very much.
From here, Dave's on a plane in 4 hours for Pebble Beach to lay another course down. Jeff?
Thanks, Randy, and happy birthday to you too, Dave. Now, Gail, what about some of the favorites for this competition this afternoon?
Well, we're very lucky today to have 2 veteran team members. We have Matt Cohn and Torchy Miller. Mac will be on 2 mounts, Pessimist and Xantor, and Torchy Miller will be riding a new horse he just got a week ago, a horse called Orangiboom. We also have a couple of interesting young riders competing today. A girl by the name of Sky Arillo, who's on a very excellent international horse, Grand Slam. And also, we have a rider by the name of Christy Paz.
Okay, we'll watch for them. And a reminder, $25,000 in prize money is up for grabs. $8,000 for first place, $6,250 for second, and $4,000 for third place. So certainly something to ride for out there today. And we'll be back with more from the Golden Triangle Premier Horse Show and the Zayres Grand Prix right after this. The Zayres Grand Prix continues now, and with a scene setter for us, here once again is Randy.
It's interesting the mental preparation that's going into the Grand Prix event today. About a half hour before the event started, Torchy Miller and his horse Orangiboom drew up to the white fence over there behind me, and they both stood there motionless, gazing out over the course, trying to visualize it. If the look in their eyes was any indication, Torchy and Orangiboom will be ready for the Grand Prix today. One other note, about 15 minutes before the event started, during the parade actually, a train roared by here about 50 feet away from the course. A couple of the horses got spooked. Hopefully there won't be any trains going by when the competition gets underway. Jeff, Gail?
Our first rider is coming up shortly, but first, for a little bit of an overview of this course, here's Gail.
Well, Jeff, the difficulty lies today in the slope of the course. It's quite uneven ground. You'll be going up and down. You see the horses going up and down quite frequently. What always presents a problem is the double combination. It's quite large, the red and white oxer combination. It's going quite downhill. Also, what presents a problem in the Grand Prix jumping is the triple combination. Today we see a vertical to a Swedish oxer to a plank coming out, the plank jumping very, very carefully. 4 strides then to a Liverpool, which is simulated water underneath the vertical. The horses tend to take a little peek at the water underneath that vertical.
Now, unless you're standing out here on the course, it's maybe difficult to get a feel for how big these obstacles really are. Standing here at 6B, these parallel poles are about 4 feet apart. Now, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but this bar is about 4'9", and this comes up pretty high on me. And this is only the second part of the double combination. 6A is only about 20 feet away. Some good obstacles, especially with slippery footing out here today. Gail, Jeff?
Our first rider in the Zayres Premier Grand Prix is 27-year-old Grant Field from Stouffville, Ontario, and he'll be riding Jumping Jack Flash.
Grant is a very talented young rider. He's riding an 11-year-old I was going to say experienced horse, but had a few problems at the first jump today.
Should tell you that that's 4 faults for the knockdown there. No matter how many bars they knock down, it's just 4 faults. This is a combination of time and faults.
I think what you'll see happen is the horse, after they've had a few rails down, hopefully they'll remember to pick up their feet. Let's see how he does at 4. He's had problems at 1 and 3 already, very early in the course to have 2 rails down. We're coming up to a very, very difficult part of the course. This is 6A and B.
Another knockdown for Jumping Jack Flash with Grant Hill. Again, though, we mentioned off the top that there might be some problems because of the undulation and the non-flat course here.
Well, what happens is that the ground, when it goes downhill, the horses get sucked into jumping too soon or too close to the jump. And when they're going uphill, they maybe stay away from the jump. And it seems like Grant is having a hard time rating the horse and getting him to the proper takeoff distance today.
Another fault as they go through jump 10 A, B, and C.
Well, Grant is really accumulating a lot of faults today, and unfortunately will not be part of the prize winnings. And a little bit difficult for the next person to follow because they haven't really seen how exactly this course rides.
So experiencing some difficulties for Grant Field of Stouffville, Ontario. Here's a rider in his 22nd year of Grand Prix competition, Philip Smith, 46 years old from Hamilton. He'll be riding Donnybrook. He has 25 career wins and just likes coming out and competing. He's never been on the Canadian equestrian team, but certainly has had a pretty good career over 22 years.
Well, he certainly has had a great career. A lot of that has been in South Africa. Philip is originally from South Africa and has been competing in Canada for 4 years now. Is really starting to gel. I have a great partnership with this Donnybrook horse.
He's competed in the United States, Britain, and Germany. Now here in Kitchener this afternoon at the Zayres Premier Grand Prix with $25,000 of total prize money.
Well, it's great to see somebody out here in Kitchener with so much international experience. It's wonderful for the younger riders in the event to watch such a great rider and learn from it themselves. He's taking a very cautious approach to this vertical, taking some time.
That's the 7th jump, and keep in mind you can knock those rails, and as long as they don't come over, there's no faults.
Well, you have to either change the height or the width of the jump to incur 4 faults.
This is the skinny Oxford jump number 9 that Donnybrook is going to do now, and that's 2 rails fairly close together, and sometimes the horse can get confused and not pick up that second rail.
It's a bit of an optical illusion. And here we have the triple combination, vertical to a Swedish Oxford to the planks. The planks jumping very carefully today to the simulated water, the Liverpool jump.
Well, Philip Smith on Donnybrook having a pretty good go, 77 seconds to this point, but he's had a clean round so far with 2 jumps to go.
Well, we're hoping to see our first clean as we come to the last jump.
And we have a clean round for Philip Smith on Donnybrook. His time, 89.33 seconds with no faults for Donnybrook and Phil Smith.
Here we see Philip Smith coming up to the triple combination. This horse jumps through here very, very easily. Now keep in mind it's going through an uphill slope. The horse has to really reach. You can see him really reach in between A and B there. And again, reach again, 1 more stride to jump out in the planks. It's going uphill. The horses have to reach far to get through there.
Next up, 24-year-old Eric Lamaze from Schaumburg, Ontario on Big Deal, and we just saw our first clean round, and anyone who has a clean round automatically goes into the jump-off, and any riders that have faults are not in the jump-off. So far, Philip Smith is the first rider to go to the jump-off, and here's Eric Lamaze now on Big Deal.
And we'll be looking for Eric to put together a clean round so that we do indeed have a jump-off to go to. This is a young Grand Prix horse for Eric. Eric is very well known for being a catch rider in both the hunter and jumper divisions. He has a great knack for getting on a strange horse and getting along with them very, very quickly. He doesn't seem to take a lot of time to get to know a horse. Has a very natural way of riding, very natural riding talent.
In 1991 at the Royal Winter Fair, he was 4th in the $100,000 Crown Royal class. And Eric considers that a highlight of his career so far on a Mario Delorier mount for that event. Clean round so far with the time approaching 1 minute for Eric Lamaze. won the 1990 CNE Grand Prix Championship.
And cleanly through the triple combination. This horse is getting a little aggressive, and you see Eric giving this horse a great aggressive ride today. I know when I spoke to him while walking the course, he was a little worried about a couple of the fences, and one of them being the last fence.
Which he is coming up to now, and a clean jump here will put him in the jump off, and Eric Lamaze of Schomberg, Ontario will go into the jump off. His time 83.05, even though his time is about 6 seconds faster than Donnybrook with Philip Smith. It's simply run a clean round, and all those people go into the jump off. Here's 43-year-old Hugh Graham from Schomberg, Ontario, and Hugh's been a major force in Canadian equestrian team action since the early 80s. He was at the Olympics in 1984, the Pan Am Games in 1983, and he today is riding Victoria, one of his two mounts in this Zayres Premier Grand Prix.
Well, although Victoria is a 13-year-old Dutch bred, he's actually quite inexperienced in the Grand Prix ring. An interesting thing to see about Hugh is that he has very, very sensitive eyes, and even though it's a cloudy day here today in Kitchener, he has on sunglasses. He really gets bothered by the glare and always has protective eye gear on.
To this point in the competition, we have two riders who have gone through a fault-free round. They will advance to the jump-off.
The double in and out, the two oxers, the horse handling that very, very well. It's on a downhill slope for those two oxers. Over the vertical. And a big stretch again for the oxer width jump.
And into jump number 9. An oxer, of course, being essentially two verticals back to back. And the equestrian term for that is oxer. Vertical, just a single jump, as he'll do here. Then the oxer. That's actually a Swedish oxer with the rails on an angle.
I think Hugh would be very pleased with his round so far today. This horse, as I said, is an inexperienced horse. 2 more jumps to go, and very tall jumps. This is a 5-foot vertical, and that 5-foot vertical just was a little bit too tall today.
And Hugh Graham on Victoria with a late fault, a time of 90.39, but 4 faults for the knockdown, will not advance to the jump-off this afternoon.
Again, the downhill slope coming into play today. It is actually a great downhill slope coming to that vertical. It's 5 foot tall. The horses then go on their front end and have a hard time balancing back and jumping up over it.
We'll return with more from the Zayres Premier Grand Prix at the Golden Triangle Premier Horse Show right after this.
We're here in the catering area where they've got lots of people food available. You have your choice of candy bars and peanuts, chips. But the horses started coming in here complaining because there was nothing for them. So they now make raw carrots available for the horses or for people who just want to maintain good eyesight. 3 carrots, please. Oh, you take Visa here? Sure do. Gail, Jeff?
As we speak, the Olympics are underway in Barcelona, and here's a rider who missed making the Olympic team by a heartbeat. 42-year-old Matt Cohn from King, Ontario, a tremendous veteran of the equestrian ranks here in Canada, and today he's riding Xantor.
Well, we're very fortunate to see Mac in this Grand Prix today. This is a very versatile horse. It was second in the speed event at this very competition, and he'll be looking for this horse and his other horse, Pessimist, to go clean today.
And coming up a little bit later in the program, we'll show you some highlights from that speed event.
This horse is looking very, very fresh. It's the further we go in the year, the fresher it actually is looking. Normally the horses at this time would get a little bit tired, and this one's just starting to come into its prime, I think.
Mac began at the Grand Prix level in 1970 and has had a number of national and international accomplishments.
Well, it's interesting. I thought that the 6A and B, those 2 red and white oxers, would create quite a problem today, and so far we haven't seen too much. I think the riders are riding this course very, very carefully. They're taking their time.
I think an interesting point, too, is that I think a lot of people think that the rider gives the horse a cue to jump at an actual jump, but that's not the case, is it?
The rider's job is to get the horse at the right takeoff point to jump that jump the easiest way possible. And also they're the controller of the speed. Their reins work as the brakes, and their legs work as the accelerator pedal.
And the horse does the jumping when he's ready to jump.
Exactly.
MacCallum now just needing one more clean jump on the last jump, number 13, on Xantor. And MacCallum, with a time of 82.56 seconds, has advanced to the jump off with a fault-free round on Xantor. Again, 82.56 for MacCallum.
Here we are at 6A and B, and although it is a downhill slope, this horse watched him back up really hard to avoid the front rail of the first oxer and really stretch to make the width. There's one stride in between, and right away they have to get right back up. You see the horse's effort. Mac just staying right in perfect balance with Xantor.
And now let's go to the warm-up area where Randy Steinman is with MacCallum.
MacCallum atop Xantor, you made it look pretty easy out there.
Well, I don't know about easy, but we got around clean. He was really good to me today. He's a wonderful horse. He's really a trier, and he just jumped that course really well for me.
Quickly, how would you describe the course out here today?
It's a tough one to jump clean. It's not, huge jumps, but it is a tough one to leave them all up from start to finish.
Mac, good luck aboard Pessimist later on.
Well, thank you. I hope he jumps just as well. Thank you.
You're looking at the youngest competitor at the Zayres Premier Grand Prix. It's 18-year-old Sky Arulo from Toronto. This is her first year on the Grand Prix circuit.
Well, Sky has enjoyed great success in the junior ranks. She is on a horse that is well-renowned internationally today, a horse called Grand Slam, originally ridden by Nick Skelton, who is an international rider for the British team.
In fact, a gold medalist at the World Championship, so this horse has some jumping experience.
He certainly does.
And I guess it's a good break for someone like Sky to get a horse like that at her age at this level of competition.
Well, yeah, she's had a wonderful start out in life, and although she has a great horse, now her job is actually to be the pilot. The horse can't jump around here by himself. She really has to ride this horse. Just because the horse has the international experience, Sky really has to be the pilot and execute the course properly in order to jump it cleanly.
Sky has Torchy Miller, who will be riding a little bit later as one of her mentors. And I know you were talking to her on the course a little bit before. She was looking for pointers here and there.
Well, Torchy wants to keep focusing on riding as well as training, and sometimes it's difficult to do both.
Well, this horse gets great height.
It really does. It's a very careful and very scopy horse. It gives the jumps a lot of room.
Coming into the triple now.
Jumps
Cleanly through.
Jumps through very easily.
Sky Arulo, 18 years old, our youngest competitor here now. Two clean jumps away from advancing to the jump off. This is jump 12 of 13.
You see her really pull on the reins. The horse is getting a little strong. Not a problem.
And a clean round for Sky Arulo of Toronto, a time of 87.18 seconds. And she had no faults, and that will advance her to the jump off.
See the approach to the Zayres jump. Sky is really trying to hold this horse back. He's getting a little bit strong on her. She has to set him up. It's a downhill slope. And the horse jumps it beautifully and very well ridden by Sky Arulo today.
A good look at perhaps the future of the Canadian equestrian team, and Sky Arulo, 18 years old. Here's 22-year-old Christy Paps from Schramberg, and she was the top junior in the country in 1988 and 1989 and joined the Grand Prix circuit in 1989, and I know you like Christy.
Well, Christy is a wonderful young rider, and she's on a very talented thoroughbred horse, a little bit of smaller, finer-boned horse. It's a 9 years old, and she's enjoyed great success with this horse. She's a real go-getter. She's a real competitor. If we see her have a clean round today and advance to the jump-off, you'll see her not take back in the jump-off and really go for it.
This horse is twice a night that Christy Paps is riding. She was third last year in the Grand Prix at Fort Erie. The rail hung there for her.
Well, that was very interesting. The horse really didn't see the jump. She didn't know where she was going until right at takeoff point. That just shows how careful this horse is. It really, what we call, is allergic to the rails.
Those rails are in little cups, and the cups can differ from jump to jump, and I guess there was just enough cup there to hold the rail on. And Christy now into jump 9.
Well, it was a lucky day. Now she's had to gather back her concentration and come up to the triple combination, concentrate on this. She comes in a little deep. No problem at B.
Christy Paps now heading to the final 2 jumps. She has a clean round going, and she has a pretty good time. She's just at the 70-second mark.
It'll be great to see her in the jump off. Great to see a young rider do well against some of the professionals.
One more jump to go. And on the last jump, Christy Pabst with a time of 80.68 seconds. A great time, but just a fault, 4 faults at the end with the knockdown.
Here we come up to the 5th jump. We'll see what happened. The horse sort of dekes left. Christy pulls on the right rein and says, no, this is the jump, this is the jump. They lose their way a little bit, but this horse is a trier. Look at that. I mean, all 4 legs at once. Amazing.
Really pulled the back legs up over that jump at the last second. Christy Pabst, not today. Great time of 80.68 seconds, but a knockdown and 4 faults on the final jump. But certainly, again, one of the bright stars for Canadian equestrians. You're looking at it right there in 22-year-old Christy Pabst. Here's a veteran of the Canadian equestrian team, 47-year-old Torchy Miller from King, Ontario. Remember the silver medal team at the Pan Am Games in 1983. Many, many riding accomplishments for Torchy Miller, and today Torchy on Orangaboom.
Well, this is a new combination, Torchy Miller and Orangaboom, and I think it's a very exciting combination. I think we'll see a lot of these two in the next year or two to come. A young horse, but a very talented horse, and a very willing horse, and I think that they suit each other tremendously. It's really Torchy's type of horse, and I think this horse will enjoy Torchy's expertise ride.
Torchy was born in Calgary. He's been riding as part of the Canadian equestrian team since 1967.
Interesting at 6AB, absolutely no problem. This horse has a tremendous amount of jumping ability, what we call scope. He has the ability to jump a very large fence.
To this point, we have 4 horses that have had clean rounds so far. Torchy Miller on Orangaboom is hoping to make it 5, coming into jump 9. And now to that triple combination, where a couple of horses have been caught today. Here it comes.
You can hear Torchy encouraging him to jump through there, and then being very careful coming out at sea.
Torchy Miller now getting ready to head into the final 2 jumps. This is jump 12. And the final jump, and Torchy Miller has a fault-free round. And more is coming up from the Zayres Premier Grand Prix right after this. Stay with us.
Welcome back, our 13th rider today in the 5th clean ride. Congratulations to you and Orangaboom.
Thanks, Randy.
How would you describe the ride?
Everything was, I think, pretty much the way I wanted it until the last fence. And I bent out too far, and he really saved my bacon.
Yeah. Yesterday you were telling me you liked the footing out here. It seemed to hold up pretty well through the rain this morning.
It's fantastic footing. I mean, considering the amount of rain, it's not slippery. It's beautiful cushion. It's great footing.
Yeah. Just the second combination, or the second competition for this combination, it seems to be coming together pretty well.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled with him. I really like the horse.
Thanks, Torchy. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you, Randy. And earlier, Eric Lamaze had a clean round on Big Deal, and Eric is back now with his second ride of the afternoon on Rush.
So we're seeing a lot of new horse rider combinations out here today. This horse was previously ridden by Marion Delorier, and now it's Eric's turn to give the horse a try and see how he feels on him.
Horse appears to be wearing somewhat of a little cap there.
Yes, well, the hat is to keep the flies out, or the rain, if we happen to have any rain today. Also, it keeps some of the sound out. Horses are very, very sensitive to sound. They're a flight animal. And the hat helps to insulate against any loud or obnoxious sounds.
So far, a clean ride for Eric Lamaze of Schomberg, Ontario.
See the horse shake his head a little bit there. He may have a little bug underneath that hat. Who knows? Sometimes that can happen. Horses are very sensitive around their ear area. Seem to be getting along very, very well. They look very confident. It's a hard thing to do, jump around a Grand Prix course on a horse that you're really not that used to.
Eric Lamaze trying to make the jump off with the second of 2 horses today. But a problem on the Liverpool simulated water jump, and he'll pick up 4 faults for that.
The horse is getting a little strong on Eric and just tends to run through the bridle slightly.
So 8 faults for Eric Lamaze and a time of 86.20 on Rush. And here's a look at the problem he had a little bit late in the course, actually.
Well, the horse is getting strong. You see it stretch its neck out, stretch its nose out. And he just doesn't quite concentrate on the job at hand and jumping that jump. He's thinking about Eric, who's pulling on the reins, and he's not looking at the jump.
Here's Hugh Graham of Schramberg back out on his second mount today. This is Pedro. Earlier did not have a clean ride on Victoria, and he'll try it on Pedro now at the Zayres Premier Grand Prix, where $25,000 of total prize money is up for grabs, with $8,000 going to the winner.
This would be the most experienced of the 2 horses that Hugh has today. The one thing I love about this horse is the marking on the front of its face. It has an interesting puzzle sort of marking. There's the first fault, 4 faults early on in the going for Hugh today.
Now it's just a matter of Hugh trying to concentrate, I guess, for the rest of the round and discover a few more things about his horse.
Yes, well, every time out is a new experience for horse and rider. And those are experiences you really like to forget, are the rails coming down. It happens to be the loudest sound in the world, is the rail coming down after you jump the jump.
That's 2 knockdowns for a total of 8 faults so far for Hugh Graham on Pedro. Coming up to the 55-second mark as he successfully clears jump 9.
Well, there's 13 jumping efforts today, and I tell you, when you have early rails down on the course, it's a long ways around, and it's very difficult to keep your concentration.
He was ridden in many Nations Cup events for Canada.
There's a good shot at the horse's face, the puzzle marking right in between the eyes.
And over the 13th jump and final jump in a time of 86.23 seconds for Hugh Graham on Pedro, but there are those 8 faults, and he will not advance to the jump off today.
Here we see 6A and B, and the trouble here is that it really is a downhill slope, and Hugh has to kick a little bit. He gets a little bit far away, and jump B just gets a little bit too close, and it's just a little bit too close for the horse to jump cleanly today. Has the front rail with its front legs.
Another veteran of national team efforts is Mike Grenier from Campbellville, 39 years old. You can see the brace on his knee there, and Mike loves the sport so much, and he's on Davos, and perhaps maybe that knee is something that is going to bother him, and maybe he is just trying a little too much here.
Well, I hope it doesn't bother him. I know what it's like to ride injured, and believe me, it's really difficult to do. It's a hard thing to do, sit in the saddle over these big jumps. With a sore knee would be even more difficult. If everything goes as planned, if everything goes properly, it should be all right. However, if the horse stumbles, or if Mike happens to make a mistake, or the horse makes an error, boy, I tell you, it'd be tough to stay with that animal. It's a very large horse. And his first 4 faults coming at B, 6B, the horse just not making the width.
Mike has had some success this year. He was first in the $30,000 Friendship Festival on Davos in Fort Erie earlier this summer. He's also had 2 5ths and an 8th this year.
Well, the horse certainly has enough talent and has enough ability to jump this course. Here's the triple. And jumping beautifully through there. Very well ridden. Mike seems to be not to be having too much difficulty with his knee today. He looks very solid in the saddle.
Saw Mike in the speed event yesterday, where things are just a little bit different, and we'll show you that in just a minute, the speed event, but he had a little bit more trouble with the knee. A little bit different, though, on the Grand Prix jumping circuit, and 1 knockdown for 4 faults in a time of 81.23 for Mike Grenier of Campbellville. Yesterday, the Golden Triangle Premier Horse Show Speed Derby went. It's a $10,000 event, and here's a look at that. The second big money event at the Golden Triangle Premier Horse Show is the $10,000 Speed Derby, where horses run for speed, not faults. And Gail, this can be a very exciting competition.
It certainly can, and this is one of the fastest riders we have today, Kim Curtin, and this is one of the fastest combinations with Kiko. She has won $37,000 the last event she was at.
Now, what's she have to do on this course to perfect this speed course?
Well, what you want to do is you want to go as fast as you can, but obviously you don't want to knock down any of the jumps. If you do, it's 6 seconds added.
There are no faults when you knock a bar down in terms of faults. It's all time at the end of the round, and for every bar that goes down, it's 6 seconds added on, and that's a lot when you're talking about hundreds of seconds in a competition like this. $1,800 to the winner in this event, with rather $2,800 to the winner, with $1,800 to second and $1,400 to third place.
Well, the way this works, if you do have a rail down and 6 seconds is added on, you can actually still win the event by just pouring on a little bit more speed. And boy, Kim is having an incredible round today. You see her just whiz around that corner, and she's leaning right into it, taking a few chances.
A little bit different from the Grand Prix event in that speed is the main thing here.
Well, you can see how fast she's galloping up to this last jump, and it's come down a lot today. And it stays up for Kim.
Boy, there it is. A great time on this for Kim Curtin on Kiko. Her time of 68.07 seconds.
Just an incredible round for Kim Curtin and Kiko today.
And Kim Curtin is able to turn that incredible round into a first-place finish in the $10,000 Golden Triangle Speed Derby. Zantor with McCallum finishing second, collecting $1,800, and Betwixt with Hugh Graham on board finishes third, some 3 seconds back to win $1,400. Now here's 17-year-old Angela Roy from Whitby, and Angela is riding Baccarat.
Angela is a very young rider. This is her second event, second Grand Prix event. She's had great success in the young riders events and the best ever competitions. She's a real competitor. She's on a very careful horse, but this could be a little tough for her today.
So far to this point, with just one horse to go, we have 5 riders who are advancing to the jump off. And Angela's hoping to become number 6.
Well, one thing about Angela, she's a very confident rider.
Knocked down there.
4B catching up again. We've seen that come down several times today. But she sits very still in the tack until there. How unfortunate.
Well, that's just an example of a horse refusing to go over the jump. Of course, the crew comes out, and Angela is okay.
It was a little unfortunate for Angela today. She seemed to have a pretty good approach here, and then she pulls on the reins. They had a little bit of confusion. There was a difference of opinion. Angela said jump. The horse said, no, I'm not ready. I want to take another stride. He stops. She gets unseated from the saddle. And it looks a lot worse than it is. She lands right on her feet. Not a problem. The horse is fine, and so is the rider.
Both horse and rider, Angela Roy and Baccarat, okay. All right, now here's Mac Cohn on his second ride of the day. This is Pessimist, and Mac has already qualified for the jump off on Zantor. Which is the better horse here, or are they pretty close?
Well, they're pretty close. I think they complement each other very well. Each horse has had their turns in winning. I think Mac would like to have both of them in there. And I tell you, there's nothing better than finishing first and second in a Grand Prix. It doesn't happen very often, but boy, oh boy, you sure remember it for a long time when it does.
$8,000 for the winner, $6,250 for second place, and $4,000 for third. Mac, as we mentioned, just a heartbeat from being in Barcelona, but this is a sport where quarter of seconds sometimes can make a difference.
In the scope portion, 6A and B, horse Pessimist jumping very, very carefully through there. We call this horse the Pez, and let's hope he's on today.
Mac has already made it to the jump off, as we said, on Zantor. Zantor's time was 82.56 seconds, but here really you're just trying to get through to the jump off and have a clean round.
Exactly. As long as you're underneath the time allowed, it doesn't really matter. And it doesn't matter what style the horse goes over these jumps, as long as they don't alter the height or the width. And each horse has their own individual style. And well done through the triple, onto the Liverpool.
Now the jump off will feature speed and faults. It's the horse with the quickest speed and the fewest faults that will be the winner of the Zayres Premier Grand Prix today. Mac now with just one more jump to negotiate, and yes, Pessimist will go. to the jump off. Matt Cohn's two mounts here today both go time of 87.16 seconds and no fault, so Mac goes twice. So that means that we have a situation where 6 riders and horses will be going to the jump off. Donnybrook with Philip Smith, Big Deal with Eric Lamaze, Xantor and Pessimist with Mac Cohn, Grand Slam with Sky Arulo, and Orangi Boom with Torchy Miller, all going to our jump off. Stay tuned, more coming up from the Zayres Premier Grand Prix at the Golden Triangle Premier Horse Show right after this. Welcome back to the Zayres Premier Grand Prix, and we're just setting up for the jump-off now, and we should tell you that the jump-off is the fastest rider with the fewest faults. It's a shorter course, actually. They go from 13 jumps to 8 jumps, and the time allowed is 48 seconds, so anything over 48 seconds, and you get a quarter fault for every second you're over. We have Philip Smith on Donnybrook, Eric Lamaze on Big Deal, Mac Cohn on Xantor, Sky Arulo on Grand Slam, Torchy Miller on Orangaboom, and Mac Cohn again on Pessimist, so it's possible for Mac Cohn to pick up some double money here out of this $25,000 purse. And now for his view of what's going to come up here, let's go back over to Randy Steinman. Randy?
Okay, Jeff, look for Philip Smith to set the early pace out here in the jump-off, but the co-favorites, I guess, from this point have to be Mac Cohn, who will ride Xantor and Pessimist, and also Torchy Miller on Orangi Boom. Jeff, Gail?
And the jump-off is underway at the Zayres Premier Grand Prix. First up, Philip Smith on Donnybrook again. This is a combination of the fewest faults and the fastest time, so things pick up here a little bit, Gail.
Well, Philip will be looking to set a really good early pace so that everybody has to chase him and hopefully have a fence down in the process. Good effort from 5 to 6 AB on to 7. Then we have a quick left-hand turn, turning in front of those bushes.
And now back to a portion of 10.
So what Philip really wants to do is jump clean, but he wants to go fast enough that everybody has to try a little bit harder or go a little bit faster and then incur 4 faults. He's doing a very good job of it so far.
Well, he's having an excellent run here. 48 is the allotted time, and the time for Donnybrook and Philip Smith, 38.83 seconds, and he is clean on that round.
He's just done a quick right-hand turn to the Zayres jump, and it's the second last jump in the course. This horse is jumping very well. A little bit of a rub, but it doesn't come down. A very good first effort, first one in the jump-off for Phil and Donnybrook today.
Well, I'll tell you what, Philip Smith has really set the pace for everybody else with a run like that. Next up in our jump-off, 24-year-old Eric Lamaze of Schaumburg, Ontario. He's on Big Deal. And Donnybrook with Philip Smith has already gone through with a clear round in a time of 38.83 seconds.
Well, Eric would have watched Philip, and he will know where he can make up some time. You see him take an extra stride out of that line. He now knows where exactly he can take valuable seconds or portions of seconds off of Philip's time.
Big left turn here. This jump-off is down from 13 jumps to just 8.
And at this point, he is ahead of Philip in time. Now what Eric has to do is just concentrate on leaving the rest of the jumps up.
Good run here with 2 jumps to go for Eric Lamaze on Big Deal.
Big Deal owned by Tom Gayford, a well-known Canadian equestrian.
And the time on a clean round for Eric Lamaze quickly beats the standard set by Donnybrook and Philip Smith. Eric Lamaze with a time of 37.55 seconds. Next in the jump-off is Xantor with veteran Mac Cohn aboard. Mac has 2 horses in the jump-off. Xantor the first one, and he'll ride Pessimist in 3 horses from now, and Mac's underway.
Well, not only is Mac a veteran, but this horse is a veteran of speed. We all know how fast he can go, and we all know how fast Mac can ride. Boy, oh boy, it could be quite exciting. Under 35 seconds, I'm hoping for.
Well, it looks like they might do something here. The course, I guess, seems to be fast. Little jiggle there, but nothing serious for Mac Cohn on Xantor.
Well, he's going to have to pick it up a little bit here. He's just about at the same place where Eric was.
30 seconds to this point, with 1 jump to go, and 37.55 the time to beat. And Xantor a little trouble on the last gate, and you saw Mac kind of raise his head in a little bit of disappointment there. 36.38 seconds is the time, but he does have 4 faults.
What happened here is the horse, you'll see him stumble a little bit, and Mac lost his striding. The horse lost his striding. He got to the fence on what we call a half stride. He wasn't there on 5 steps. He wasn't there on 6 steps. He was there at 5.5 steps, and a very difficult place for that horse to jump from. How unfortunate for Mac today. He was on a really great time.
Here's the youngest competitor in our jump off, 18-year-old Sky Arulo, and Sky is on Grand Slam.
Well, this horse is very experienced at speed, and Sky certainly is at the junior jumper level. These fences are much bigger than the junior jumper level, and that large oxer just caught up with her.
It's 4 faults for Sky.
It takes a little bit of a different ride over bigger jumps to go fast over bigger jumps than it does over smaller jumps. Here she is doing the left-hand turn.
A little bit of a looping turn there too, which again might come from experience to shorten that down a bit.
Well, she's already had 4 faults. She's lost a bit of her concentration. And now I think what she's trying to do is just to finish the course, not have 8 faults, keep on the 4 faults.
Sky Arulo coming up to the last jump on Grand Slam, and her time 37.07 seconds, but she does have 4 faults from the one knockdown, and here it is.
Well, here's that large red and white oxer, 6B. It's going downhill, and the slope really caught up with Sky there. She got there a little bit too soon, and the horse just lost its footing a little bit behind and had the front rail behind.
So right now, Eric Lamaze on Big Deal leads the jump off with 2 horses to go, 2 good ones, Torchy Miller and Mac Cohen still to come. Now here's Torchy Miller on Orangi Boom. Torchy, of course, a veteran of the equestrian wars, 47 years old, pretty well done it all.
Well, although this horse is a young horse and he showed his experience there at the first jump, I think we'll see Torchy pour on the steam anyway. A quick 4 fault round at this point could give him 3rd place just in front of Matt Cohn. He has to be faster than 36.38 to take over 3rd spot.
So we'll see what happens, because Matt Cohn with Pessimist is still to come, the last jumper. Torchy Miller having a pretty good run here. 27, coming up on 30 seconds to this point with just the 2 jumps to go.
I think he wants to test this horse a little bit and see what it'll do just for future reference.
But another fault there for Torchy Miller on a time of 38.61 seconds, but 8 faults with the 2 knockdowns, and here's where Torchy and Orangi Boom ran into trouble.
Well, that first fence caught him. Maybe the horse wasn't quite prepared to jump the first jump. You never know what's happened in the schooling area, although I think we'll look to see great things from this horse and rider in the future. An unfortunate first rail down for Torchy. Here he comes. You see him really stretching for this vertical. He's really booking it around this turn, trying to save that time, and the horse just gets a little bit flat. Torchy wants to test this horse today and see what he can do.
Well, perhaps this is how it should be. The last rider can determine the entire event. And here's Mac Cohn on Pessimist, and certainly Mac, this is his to win on Pessimist right now.
Well, it's a great spot to be last in a jump-off. You know exactly how fast you have to go to beat the winner.
And he's been through the course once with Xantor as well.
Exactly. He's had the experience of going around once. He knows where he can shave off valuable portions of seconds, and you see him really coaxing him around that corner. But the first thing he wants to do is he wants to leave those jumps up. He's already sitting 3rd so far on his first Mount Xantor.
Right now the time to beat is 37.55 seconds. That's Eric Lamaze on Big Deal. 2 jumps to go for Mac Cohn on Pessimist, and he's had a fault. And this will mean, with a time of 36.23, that Pessimist will finish 3rd with that. But Eric Lamaze on Big Deal wins his biggest Grand Prix ever today on Big Deal, a time of 37.55. An unfortunate knockdown for Mac Cohn turns into something really great for Eric Lamaze, and I'm sure Mac will feel pretty good for Eric as well at this point.
I think he will feel good for Eric, although everybody's a competitor out here today, and this is an unfortunate rail for Mac. Nothing too particularly wrong going in. The horse just didn't maybe rate the height of the jump. Again, maybe the slope going downhill caught up with Mac.
So 24-year-old Eric Lamaze on Big Deal has his biggest Grand Prix win of his career in Kitchener today, 37.55 the winning time. Donnybrook with Philip Smith from Hamilton is next at 38.83, and then Pessimist with Mac Cohn. A little bit of a disappointing day for Mac, 36.23 seconds, but 4 faults, and he will finish in 3rd place.
Here in the winner's circle with the big winner today, Eric Lamaze. Congratulations on your biggest win ever with Big Deal. What were your chances going in today? Some pretty tough competition.
Yes, there was a lot of experienced horses in the class today, and my mount is an inexperienced Grand Prix horse. It's only his second big Grand Prix this year, so we're very happy with it. He jumped very well in the first round, and we were just hoping another clean round in the jump off, which we did, and so the other had to catch me and had rails from there.
Mm-hmm. Was it advantageous to you to jump second after having seen Philip Smith in the first jump off?
Not really. Usually if you go last, you have the best chance of the jump off. But he's a fairly green horse, so in that event, I knew exactly what I wanted to do from there. And I couldn't take too many chances. I wanted to leave here with 2 clean rounds. That was my main thing, and everything happened to be my day today.
Mm-hmm. Some pretty tense moments at the end, though, as those guys were coming in with good times, but they just couldn't get past those final jumps.
Especially with $25,000, it makes a difference. You hope, you don't wish anybody bad luck, but I'm glad I won today.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
This has been a big deal for Eric Lamaze. Back to you, Jeff and Gail.
Well, Gail, as Randy Steinman mentioned, it was a big deal for Eric in many ways. And what does this do for his confidence, winning something like this?
It gives him a tremendous amount of confidence. It really allows him to go on and try bigger and better things. A great win for Eric today, and a great win for Tommy Gayford's horse, Big Deal.
All right, and Tom and Kim Schnarr, the tournament directors, have done another great job at the Golden Triangle Premier Horse Show this year. And that wraps it up from the Zayres Grand Prix, the showcase event here. We hope you enjoyed it. I'm Jeff Hutcheson for Gail Greenough. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye for now.